Tom.
Hey Jason, how are you?
Doing well. How was your day?
It's awesome. Like, I'm really glad it's 6, not 7.
We're 6:03.
Good evening. Welcome to the Novi Board of Education regular meeting of April 18th. If you could all join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tom, that was like a check swing. Okay, first on our agenda here is approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Smith and supported by Mr. Mitchner. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, let's move on to Student Board Representative Report. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you as well. At today's board meeting, I wanted to talk about the advisory board meetings that have happened in the week of April 1st. So to start off with, on April 2nd, in the Meadows Advisory Board, students provided feedback about the cleanliness of the school and students' behavior towards being clean, as well as suggested ways to encourage their classmates to clean up after themselves, such as having rule boards posted around the school on how to clean up after themselves in bathrooms, cafeteria, and recess. Students also discussed the policy of banning in school and why and how items get banned, such as Pokemon cards. Finally, students discussed the use of bad words when students feel frustrated and how adults in the building can help them handle the use of bad words. So at the middle school, with the warm weather ahead, students talked about going outside during school hours, such as outside recess time, or going outside for their science and ELA classes, as well as being excited for the new nature walk that's being built and the new tennis program. Students also discussed the use of bad words at the middle school when students feel frustrated and how adults in the building can help with the situation, but also how they themselves can handle the situation, as well as teach other students not to use bad words in school. And in addition, students talked about educating other students during age 20 about the consequences of drug use. Finally, students talked about the course catalog in the middle school and some changes they would like to see to the selection, mainly with more electives and the option for a potential 7th period for students who take a language and music class to be able to take those electives as well. Finally, at the high school, students started off by discussing their spring break, as well as learning about the new breaks being implemented into the following school year, such as a fall break, which will be 4 days, and also a break for Diwali. In addition, students also discussed the use of bad words at the high school as well, when students feel frustrated and how adults in the building can handle the use of bad words, but they also discussed more about why students in younger grades choose to use bad words at school, mainly how social media has escalated the use of bad words amongst younger students. Finally, all the students at the advisory board meeting shared one thing they would like to see change or have more about the Novi High School next year, which ranged from an increased range of classes such as honors levels courses and a more even grading scale to more appreciation for the staff around the high school, especially our very hardworking lunch ladies and janitors. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Mr. Mitchner.
Yeah, I'm just curious, as an adult, what did they want the adults to do with regards to bad words?
I think some things that they were talking about is just like having teachers hold students accountable more. I think one thing was definitely having more consequences. I know sometimes teachers just tell students like, hey, don't say those words, and then it just moves on from there, but maybe having a talk with like the parent and having like administration involved, I think just having the higher authority also discuss with the students as well as a lot what students have recommended too, because they didn't really see the consequences happen when students use bad words, so I think if students actually knew like, here's what the consequences are, I think more students would not choose not to use those bad words.
So they were actually asking for a little more protection and some consequences to kind of keep them safe?
Yeah, especially from like the center.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, this brings us to celebrations. Before we get into the Educator of the Year, every board member should have received a pin in honor of Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month. So wear them proudly, and
Yeah.
appreciate everybody's support when it comes to those students. This,
Yeah.
celebrations, Mr. Meinka.
Yeah, well, thank you, and I appreciate you, for, bringing up, Autism Acceptance and Awareness Month. It's also been Inclusion Week at our high school, and in the district, and we have a lot of activities that have been going on, actually, not just at the high school, but all the buildings, and, great opportunity for us to celebrate all of our children and kids that come to our schools. But tonight is a special night. You can see that we have some very honored guests here tonight. And we have an opportunity to celebrate some of our best and brightest, and so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Carino.
Thank you. Over the past few weeks, we have had the privilege to review applications and nomination packets of colleagues that submitted names and recommendations for Educators of the Year, and we had a very difficult task of picking the very best ones. But I think that we did a great job, and I am delighted to be able to present 5 different individuals to you this evening. We have 4 official Educators of the Year who are either classroom teachers or an ancillary provider, as well as our Outstanding Support Person of the Year. So I will take a moment to read a snippet of each of their nomination packets so you can get to know a little bit about them and know the outstanding things that they have done and why we selected them. And then I will call them each up to the podium just so that they can introduce their families. I know that a lot of them have brought special guests to be able to celebrate them who know them at home outside of work, and we are grateful that they share them with us. And so after that, I will call them all up to the front and give them their certificates and nomination packets, and hopefully we can get a picture and just make sure that we are really celebrating all of them. So first off is Darcy Moss. She is our grade 9 through 12 and career prep and adult ed educator of the year. And this is a little bit about Darcy. Darcy takes an individual interest in her students and points out strengths she sees in them that they themselves were not aware that they possessed. Darcy loves the content in which she teaches, finance, accounting, business law, etc., and it is very apparent by the types of assignments she gives to students. Her assignments are rooted in real-life scenarios by which the students walk away with a life lesson and not just something to study for the test. She holds her students accountable to the high expectations she sets for them. Mrs. Moss develops independent, accountable, and knowledgeable students. She shows such an interest in her students and treats them with respect, high expectations, and true care and love when they falter. Congratulations to Darcy Moss. Our next award winner was Laura Khalil. She is our grade 5 through 8 Educator of the Year, and this is a little bit about Laura. Laura greets students at the threshold of her classroom each hour by name. Mrs. Khalil is indeed a role model for students. She exemplifies respect with every student and adult interaction. She is adept at providing supplemental instruction to support students with their greatest needs, and she celebrates successes with individual students and the whole class as they meet goals. Her classroom environment is calm and focused. Her students know exactly what is expected and how to meet those expectations because she prepares them thoroughly and practices with them repeatedly. Above all of her positive attributes, the one that stands out the most is leadership. She has taken the lead on creating the power lessons that the entire middle school staff teaches during A20 every Friday to facilitate SEL goals. We appreciate Laura Khalil. Congratulations. Down the grades, we have Heather Stewart, who is our pre-K through elementary Educator of the Year. It takes a special person to want to teach such young students, and without fail, every single year Heather's class proves to be the most well-adapted, disciplined, and well-behaved class in our building. And did I mention that she teaches kindergarten? She sets high expectations and challenges her students to reach their full potential. She is willing to stay late, come early, and go the extra mile for her students. Her teaching comes from a place of love, inclusion, and the innate desire to have each of her students succeed. She is a true leader and has been a mentor to teachers old and young. She's a profoundly dedicated professional who serves as a benchmark to those around her. She is the teacher you want to be, the teacher you wish you had, and the teacher you would want your child to have every year. Congratulations. was Heather, the pre-K through elementary teacher, but she was also selected as our overall NEF Novi Community School District Educator of the Year. So she won both awards. Last year, we decided to open up the categories a little bit. So although Oakland County and Oakland Schools only recognizes classroom teachers, we wanted to be more inclusive, so we also added a category, the Ancillary Educator and Staff of the Year. So we are very excited to be able to recognize Deanna Fielder. So Deanna is incredible at engaging with students. Her entire career is based around differentiated instruction and academic coaching. She intentionally plans each social grouping for the individual needs of her students. She knows what goals each student has and fosters a positive learning environment for all of her students. She has a way to connect with each of her students to foster that safe environment that everyone desperately needs. Deanna also offers up coaching for her colleagues. Deanna is the very embodiment of positive collaboration with colleagues. She is a patient, kind, hardworking, and ever-learning educator and friend. Deanna Fielder is the epitome of what every school social worker should be. She's an attentive, deeply caring listener who shares valuable strategies and ideas to support our learners in reaching their academic and personal goals. Congratulations. Moving on, we also want to recognize our Outstanding Support Person of the Year, who is Pam Fritchen, our Novi High School media paraprofessional. So Pam is an incredible asset to the Novi High School learning environment and an amazing part of the Library Media Center team. Pam provides exceptional dedication, knowledge, and skills each day during her work in the LMC. Pam effectively and efficiently conveys important messages while also developing and building upon relationships. She especially loves helping students, always working toward the best outcome for them. Because of her position at the circulation desk, Pam is often the first person people see when entering the LMC. Often staff and students are coming to the LMC because they are struggling with something and need support. Pam welcomes everyone and does an excellent job of finding out what they need. Congratulations, Pam. So I will call each of you up just so you can recognize the people that have come with you and supported you outside of school. So first up is Darcy Moss.
Good evening, Board of Education, and thank you very much again to the district for this great award. This evening with me is my husband, Doug, and my oldest son, AJ, from Chicago, and my youngest son, who's studying at U of M Flint, David. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Laura.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us. This is my husband, Pete. My daughter, Farrah, is making all the noise, so she's outside with my mom. And this is my dad, Mike.
Heather.
Well, thank you so much for this wonderful award. It's been awesome. Some of my family couldn't be here tonight. My husband and kids are at college and studying for tests, and my husband's sick. Tonight I have my mom and dad here, Steve and Eunice Hitchcock. My dad was a longtime board member in the Novi board when I was growing up in Novi schools. So I have been here lots of times before, but I prefer 5-year-olds. So thank you so much for this award. I appreciate it.
We'd like to sit in the back. Hi, I brought my family today. My mother, Carol, we're all in the back row. My daughter, Ellery, is an 8th grader. My husband, Tom. My son, Rowan, is a freshman in college, and my 10th grade son, Grayson. And then my people from school. Thank you very much.
And last but certainly not least, Pam.
Good evening. Thank you so much for this honor. I really appreciate it. I have with me tonight my husband of 41 years, Steve, And also, although she may not be family, Bethany Bratney is here with me. She's our amazing media specialist at the high school, and without her, I wouldn't be able to do the job that I do. So thank you.
And if we can call you all up to the front one more time so we can give you your certificates and take a picture, I would.
Right up front here.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Do we have any comments from the board? I will say that it's an honor to have all of you serving in our in our district. It is wonderful to hear what your peers have to say about you in order to nominate you for these awards, and they're all well-deserved. So thank you very much for your service to the district. And with that, we will allow people to leave. We'll take a 5-minute recess, allow people to leave so that they don't have to sit through the entire board meeting, although it's riveting. So, we'll,
Strawberries.
yeah,
Take
take
some
home
food.
take home some food. Thank you.
So we have little containers.
up, let's do board celebrations. Has board members been attending or want to acknowledge anything that they've seen throughout the district since our last meeting? Mrs. Baudouin.
First, since we just did these other great educators and the awards they've received, I wanted to acknowledge another teacher who received an award in our district, Lee Bonner, who teaches high school history, was awarded the Excellence in Education Award from the Michigan Lottery. It was established to recognize outstanding public school educators across the state throughout the school year. And winners of this award do receive $2,000 cash, so that's very exciting. And Mr. Bonner is known for his talents with working with students that require a little extra special care, and has been very well appreciated by many of our students in the district. So congratulations, Mr. Bonner. Then I also wanted to mention that the student government, what is the Michigan student government, 22 students from Novi went to the state capitol and joined around 600 students from around the state. The conference is led by 12 students, and this year 4 of them were from our district, so that's a pretty impressive amount of leadership coming out of Novi. In this past year, we had students serving in the governor's cabinet, the committee chairs, and as clerks. We also had students that successfully got their bills signed into Michigan youth law. And then finally, I am proud to share that my friend Ishan Thurman was elected to be Speaker of the House. It was a statewide election for the Michigan student government, and so he will be assuming that role next year. So congratulations to all the kids who participated last year, and to Ishan on that election. And then I have Singing in the Rain on here, but I might throw that over to...
No, go ahead, you're on a roll.
Okay, great.
Ishan's in there too.
Yeah, those sermon kids. So the high school is, has the production of Singing in the Rain coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend. I know the kids have been working very hard. Specifically, I am aware that Mr. Smith's son has been carrying around a tool belt and doing a ton of work.
Well, you guys know they had to rebuild the entire stage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they elevated it a couple of inches so that they could do two things. One is that you could hear the tapping, because it's a musical. And the other is Thomas insisted that there be live rain in the production, so they had to construct troughs on each side of the stage for the water to run off. Yeah,
Later go home.
85 by, what do they sell, plywood? I don't know, 5 by 8, 5 by 10?
4 by 8.
4 by 8, 84 by 8 sheets of plywood.
So the students have been working very, very hard, and I would encourage everyone to check it out. I feel like we often end up saying what a great job the students in theater did after. So this is your announcement ahead of time to go get your tickets and go check it out, because it sounds like there's gonna be some rain in the high school.
And it's
It
Millen's
won't be
last year
from a
too,
leaky
right?
roof, so that's amazing. Yes, this is Millen's last year as well.
If
And I
you
know
guys
there's
haven't
quite a
seen
few
him,
other
he's,
seniors.
yeah, there's a lot of talented kids over the last couple of years. Being a theater major, I recognize that Millen has a really unique talent, not that others don't, but will be missed. I'm sure Heather will miss him after he graduates this year. But, anyway, so if you can make it out there, it's actually Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So, thank you.
Nice join over there.
That's how we roll.
Thomas the Toolman.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know where he gets it. It ain't me.
Any other
That's fair.
board celebrations? No? Do we need to wait a minute on technology?
Yeah, Miss Holly's working on it with the team downstairs, but they haven't figured it out yet.
So we
I can fill
will,
some time if you want. I'll pull some board communication content ahead. So Novi Meadows had their trivia night. It was well attended. It was amazing to see how attentive and engaged the students were in basically what is really a test that they get candy for. But they all cooperated really, really well, and it was just encouraging to see everybody having fun. All the adults sat in the back, so it was truly just the kids getting to work together and trying to come up with the best answer. And I was surprised to find out that students attended a certain school south of here prior to 1968. That was one of the trivia questions. So if you don't know, look it up. But so that was really good. And then also for Novi Meadows, I'm excited to report they're going to have their first ever multicultural night event. It's called Passport to Your Palate. And that is going to be this May on the 20th, 6 to 7. So it's just 1 hour long. So make sure you get there because I'm sure it'll be really fast and action-packed, but it should be really exciting. It'll be really cool to see all the elementary schools and to see how they all come together and do a multicultural event in Meadows. So we're excited for that.
Sounds good.
Be awesome.
Any other communications? I guess we will take a brief recess until,
Our
It is
pictures come back
actually,
up.
it's streaming, it's just not coming up on the screen.
Okay.
So we're good.
so let's continue. Comments from the audience. The board respectfully requests that any individual wishing to speak to the board provide their name, address, any organization they represent, keep their comments to the allotted time, which is 3 minutes, and refrain from directing comments to individual members of the board, district employees, or members of the audience. We have any green cards?
Yep, we got one card, Robert Andrews.
Hello, my name's Rob Andrews, 45376 Yorkshire Drive, here in Novi. I'm here on behalf of myself and other parents with waiver kindergarten children for this fall. To start off with, there are a lot of parents who are looking kindergarten, and due to the policy here of forcing it, have decided to go to other districts with their kids and then come back next year for first grade, which circumvents part of the from what I know some parents are looking to bring up using the district's own information from kindergarten night, indicating that Wildcat Launch is more of a pre-K program and it's not really kindergarten. And the state law specifically says that the public school that receives written notification may make a recommendation to the parent or legal guardian of a child described in this subsection that the child is not ready to enroll in kindergarten due to their age or other factors. However, regardless of this recommendation, the parent or legal guardian retains the sole discretion to determine whether or not to enroll the child in kindergarten under this subsection. And they're not sure they're going to be able to pull it off, but it is concerning. Now, having covered other parents' concerns, who aren't going to be able to be here tonight, I'd like to address my own. I'm more comfortable with the Wildcat Launch presented and the lack of information about it, and that fact that it is pre-K, which is similar to a forced preschool, which my child has already done. And the district at kindergarten night spent a bunch of time introducing people, covering things that make it easier for the district, and left no real time for question and answer, and didn't get into any of these details at kindergarten night, and then put a requirement for the parents to have registration done by the end of April in order for them to be guaranteed of getting into their local elementary school. In light of that, I think the board should look at pushing back that end of April cutoff, look at clarifying or strengthening the curriculum for Wildcat Launch, and having a meeting with the parents to explain this curriculum to them.
Thank you for your time. Does anybody else desire to address the board at this time? Seeing none, we'll just move on to consent items. Tonight we have on our consent items approval of minutes for the regular board meeting of March 14th, Governance and Policy Advisory Committee meeting, April 11th, We have the February board report, the check registry for February, and the purchase card report for February. We also have the field trips for the high school choir to Carnegie Hall and the MHSAA spring athletic tournaments.
Move to approve consent items as presented.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Mena, supported by Mrs. Beaudoin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 6-0. Brings us to donations. Mr. Micah.
We have two donations tonight, one from Village Oaks PTO, and also one that's an athletic donation. I'm having a little bit of a hard time seeing my documents here, so give me just a second. It's like mine is not wanting to populate, I apologize. Would one of the other trustees mind sharing the information? Sorry, thank you. So, Village Oaks is feeding the staff for staff appreciation. There'll be reserving the Rolling Stoves food truck for May 8th for staff appreciation for $2,000. And the athletic boosters are going to be providing a generous donation of $19,117 for scoreboards at the middle school and impact sports performance training for strength and conditioning program for our student athletes strength and conditioning program. So certainly recommend that the board accept those generous donations with appreciation and thanks.
Do I have a motion? Mr. Mena.
I'll put a motion for the first one. I move that the board accept the generous donation as presented from the Voice PTO with appreciation and thanks.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Mena, supported by Mrs. Beaudoin. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes 6-0. The athletic donations. Do I have a motion?
Before we move on, could I
Yes.
just say, thank you to the Village Oaks PTO for sending in this paperwork to have this approved, and also for all the hard work. I know they do a ton of stuff, for teacher appreciation, and, just wanted to say thank you to them for all their hard work.
Thank you. Okay. Athletic donations. Mrs. Roney.
That the Novi Community School Board of Education accept the generous donations of, or as provide impactful opportunities for all to cultivate lifelong learning. And why is that? I'm sorry, that is what my thing reads, but that's. I'll try this again. That the Novi Community School Board of Education accept the generous donations as presented, but that should be from.
With appreciation.
Well, appreciation and thanks, but it should be from the athletic boosters. Yeah, and the amount of $19,117 for strength and conditioning
And scoreboard.
and scoreboard at the middle school. Okay, sorry.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Roney, supported by Mr. Mitchner. Any comments, questions?
I certainly send thanks along to the Novi Athletic Boosters. I know those folks work hard, led by Mrs. Amy Mattis. I understand that the LED boards at the middle school have sorely needed to be replaced for quite some time. So I'm not quite sure what the total cost is, but I know that certainly the folks who use those facilities, plus the athletic department, is excited to get moving on those projects.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes 6-0. This brings us to our action items, our personnel report. Mr. Minka.
Yes, we are excited to welcome some new members to the Wildcat family, and so as per usual, I'll turn that over to Dr. Carino.
Thank you. Tonight, we are excited to present 9 individuals for your consideration. Starting with our NEA positions, we recommend Carly Ebatz as a Novi Meadows school social worker, Carly comes to us as a U of M graduate with experience as a social work intern from the girls group in Ann Arbor. She has also worked as a paraprofessional before in Farmington Hills. Blair Vandertyg is being recommended for the Orchard Hills Speech and Language Pathologist position. She will be providing support at the ECEC this spring to cover a maternity leave as well. Blair has previously served as a speech-language pathologist in Wayne Westland since 2016. Pending the receipt of fingerprints, Donna Castaneda is being recommended for our ADNU accounting coordinator position. Donna has extensive experience working as a payroll specialist, business office specialist, and in special education accounting in Garden City schools. Moving on to NESPA positions, Bala Saraswati Guneska Shaker is being recommended as a self-contained special education paraprofessional at the ECEC. She has previously served as a preschool teacher at the Michigan Tamil Association in Livonia. We also recommend Kathy Ozinski for the high school secretary position. Kathy has served as a secretary to building leadership in both Dearborn Heights and Livonia before coming to Novi. Megan Pugh is being recommended for the Village Oaks secretary position. Megan has previously served in a variety of roles in schools, including an elementary classroom teacher position in Livonia. In the Maintenance and Operations Department, we have one recommendation this evening. We recommend Robert Van Giesen as a senior maintenance technician. Robert has served as a building engineer trainer with EnviroClean in our district since the fall. Finally, we have two Transportation Department recommendations. We recommend Mansoor Ashtiani for one of our bus driver positions. Mansoor has previously worked as a head of innovations and manager of materials engineering and a variety of other engineering positions. And we also recommend Punta Rica Gary N. Sripangsa for a bus driver position. Punta Rica has worked as an associate manager in retail previously. We also have a few retirements, resignations, and leaves of absence. Ron Levin, Meadows 5th grade teacher, and Claire Schoenberger, high school science teacher, will be resigning at the end of the school year. Thomas Brenner, high school social studies teacher, and Marcia Reed, high school special education teacher, will also be retiring at the end of the school year. We thank each of them for their service with the district and wish them much happiness going forward. Mar Kabiev and Tithi Pardeshi, special education resource room paraprofessionals at VO and the high school respectively, have both recently resigned. And finally, Heather Iafredi, VO second grade teacher, has requested her first child care leave of absence for the 24-25 school year. Lauren Miller, Meadows 5th grade teacher, has requested a personal leave for next year. And David Gutuski, a bus driver, has requested a medical leave of absence for the remainder of this school year. That concludes tonight's personnel report. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a recommendation? Mrs. Baudouin.
I move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education adopt the personnel report recommendations as presented.
Support.
Moved by Mrs. Baudouin, supported by Mrs. Roney. Any questions, comments? We'll call to order then. We'll call to, Mrs. Baudouin.
I was just going to mention to Dr. Carino that it appears she's been quite busy, and thank you.
Okay, let's call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes 6-0. This brings us to Novi Meadows STEM robot discussion. Oh, introductions. I always forget that.
That's okay. We are very excited that 5 of our new hires are here this evening, so I would like to introduce, in no particular order, Blair. Okay.
Hi, I'm Blair Vandertyg. I'm a new speech pathologist in the district. I will be covering a maternity leave in the ECEC and then be at OH in the fall. I'm looking forward to being here and part of the Novi community.
Awesome. Welcome.
Paula.
Hello everyone, I'm Bala. I'm new paraprofessional at Novi School District and I'm living in Novi. I got 2 kids, both are studying in Novi School District and I thank you to everyone. I am excited to part of your team and thank you to my family. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan Pugh. I live in Huntington Woods with my husband and my son who's a freshman at U of M, and my daughter who's a high school junior at Berkeley High. I'm a former elementary school teacher in Livonia. I subbed in our home district while my kids were in elementary school. And I like reading and playing mahjong and euchre and watching college sports, and I'm thrilled to be at VO.
Awesome.
Mansoor.
Good evening. My name is Mansoor Ashtiani. I'm originally from Persia, so I speak Farsi. I'm the proud father of 3 children, graduated from Novi, Jana Ashtiani, Amir Ali, and Sarah. And Jana is an optometrist now. Amir Ali is a physiologist, and Sarah is studying psychology at Michigan State. And I hope that I can bring some innovation in the experience of bus driving to the students.
Punta Rica.
Hello, my name is Puntarika Garian Pongsa. I have 3 boys that have been in the Novi School District. One graduated Novi High School in 2018, and I have a 10th grader and an 8th grader, both still attending school here. I already know I love Novi schools, and I love many of the children in it already because I know a lot of them, but I'm excited to be a bus driver.
All right.
Thank you.
That is all who responded, but I just want to make sure that I don't have anybody else on. Yeah, Carly.
Hi, I'm Carly Evitz. I'm the new social worker at Novi Meadows. I started last week, and it's already been really great getting to know everyone. I'm in the 6th grade house, so getting to know the kids, and it's just been really fun so far. So thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. This brings us to any comments from the board that we've met? Mr. Mishner.
I just gotta say, it's fantastic to see so many Novi parents of our students volunteering or signing up to be bus drivers and supporting the school district in that way. So thank you very much.
Yep, thank you. And don't feel that you have to sit around through the entire board meeting. You can get up and go home to your families.
Unless you want to stay.
Unless you want to stay.
We have another 264 pages.
They're like, well, that's a good reason to hop on.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you.
Was there somebody else here?
Okay.
Do we wanna?
Come on,
Did we miss somebody?
Yeah.
Did we miss them? Not that RSVP to me, and I didn't meet all of them, so I don't know, but I asked if there was anybody else, and Olden Carly went like that, so.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we.
The gentleman. Was it a gentleman that was sitting there? So.
Oh, we can bring them back.
No. We're flying through this.
I noticed they all
He's on a
work
mission
in the
tonight.
city.
He's on a mission tonight.
Before we continue, I just want to make sure that he.
Yeah, no, it's
And then there were 5. And that's including Sheila, you know.
And 3 of them have to be here.
I know. So basically there were 2.
That's not even coffee.
Okay.
He bolted out.
okay.
Moving on, this brings us to the Novi Meadows STEM robotics.
So this is a recommendation from the technology department. We are requesting the purchase of 6 universal robots, UR3E robots for the use in the 5th and 6th grade robotics classrooms. After a brief trial with the robots, it was determined that these would be a better fit for the needs of the students. You had information and discussion at your last meeting, and it's now coming back for approval in the amount of $207,200. And that is the recommendation this evening.
Do I have a motion? Mr. Mishner?
Yes, I move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education approve the purchase of 6 universal robots, UR3E, for the use in the 5th grade robotics class, and award the contract to Advanced Technology Consultants in the total amount of $207,200.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Mishner, supported by Mr. Mena. Do we have any additional questions? Mrs. Baudouin?
I'm not sure, I'm trying to remember, we may have gotten an email on this, but, did we find out what the warranty was for these?
Yes, we did, but Jason, do you mind coming up and
I just was,
sharing?
just that one thing, I was just wondering, cause I know the original ones did not hold up as well as we had hoped.
We added it to the package.
It's,
Oh, we added a one?
It's in the
Oh,
package.
yeah,
My
it's the
apologies, it's
4th
in
one
my-
down.
You can just share.
Okay, yeah,
for-
so the original warranty that they come with, the standard is 15 months, and we're purchasing an additional 12-month warranty with it as well, too. So when the 15 months end, the 12 months will kick in.
okay, great.
Can I ask also, while you're up there, before I drag you back up, how many companies are there in this particular space with those type of robots? You know, and,
Not
or
off the
how
top.
many that we look at all?
The companies that sell the robots?
Yeah.
They're a sole provider.
There's a sole provider for the universal robot.
Yep.
But are there other companies that make the collaborative robots that work in this curriculum?
That I'm not aware of. The teacher themselves did a trial with them. I don't know exactly how many different ones they tried.
We did look at some other robots.
Okay.
But Mr. Ernster really felt strongly that this was the most appropriate for the things that we were trying to do in the program. There was a Kawasaki product that we reviewed that really wasn't a good fit, and I can't think of the other one off the top of my head. But we felt pretty strongly based on this for a few reasons. One, we talked last month about the durability that we expect out of these robots. There's some more flexibility with them. The local nature of the service support, which was something that we struggled with our last robots in the program. And then our colleagues at Oakland Schools utilize similar robots, and so we have some sort of collaborative opportunity there to help us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Baudouin?
When they come in, would we be able to come and check them out? 'Cause I'm pretty curious about
I wouldn't see why not.
Mr. Micah, maybe we can make that happen?
Make it happen, yeah. They'll be in the new robotics lab.
Yep.
At Meadows, as soon as we get them in. Be great.
Would you like, if the board members can do the 5th grade curriculum? Might be kind of funny. If we can handle it.
See if you can code them. That would be funny.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
No.
Okay.
Motion and support?
We do have motion and support. My question actually is that, in the letter we got, it says 183,580, but the entire quote, I just didn't add it up, comes to 207,200.
Thought we updated that today.
I was gonna
Is that
say
the
that-
addition of the warranty?
So with the increase in the warranty, the
Okay.
number changed a little bit from last month. That's the difference. The original recommendation didn't include that.
Okay.
But I thought we got that cleaned up this afternoon. Jason caught that.
It looks like the service offering warranty is an additional 16,000.
Yeah.
And this is more of a minor detail, but this is a 6th grade curriculum, is it not, Mike?
5th grade.
Fifth. It's 5th? So robots are gonna be used in the 5th grade now too, going forward?
Currently are.
Very cool.
Do we do something in 6th as well?
No.
So they just do robotics in 5th?
Okay. No further questions? I will call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes 6-0. Moving on to Novi Meadows Extreme Switch and UPS battery purchase.
The Technology Department is requesting the purchase of 6 Extreme Network switches and 3 UPS battery backups. These will be placed into 3 network closets that will be created in the new Meadows addition. They're necessary for the connectivity of the new additions and for district devices. The contract is being recommended to be awarded to Delta Network Services in the total amount of $35,246.07. This came for the board, in front of the board for information and discussion at our last meeting, and it's coming here tonight for approval at your discretion.
Do I have a motion? Mrs. Rowan?
I make the motion that the Novi Community School District Board of Ed approve the purchase of 6 Extreme Network switches and 3 UPS battery backups and award the contract to Delta Network Service in the total amount of $35,249.07.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Roney, supported by Mr. Smith. Any questions?
I'm
Got them last week?
just
Last
happy
meeting?
to see us go with Extreme Network. It's a good switch.
Personal favorite of yours?
Yeah,
Just out of curiosity, Ben, we don't have any closets that don't have this kind of backup system in the district, do we?
I'm gonna let Jason answer that question, cause he's the expert in that area, so. What was the question again?
We back up all of our data networking closets in a similar fashion, right? We don't have any unprotected ones, right?
Correct, yeah, everything, this is the same system, same setup we have in every single closet.
Perfect.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Now I will call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes 6-0. Next, we have the new high school textbook purchases.
Alrighty, this is gonna be a little bit different than normal because we're gonna actually have several recommendations that we'll ask you to vote on. For these proposals, just understand that a lot of times with the International Baccalaureate program as well as the AP program, they do require a certain amount of time that with a recency period that the books are actually being used in those programs. One additional thing that's a little bit different is that we will have the pricing on these books, but the books in large case here are going to be based on the enrollment in the courses, so we don't over purchase. And so a lot of times we'll look at what our enrollment's gonna be, and there'll be some extras purchased, but we'll be asking you to approve it at the amounts that are there. So the first one is the IB Biology textbook proposal. The IB Biology proposal is to purchase the 2023 edition of the Biology Course Companion and Workbook, the IB edition. The cost of the textbook is $54.99, and the workbook is $40. Each will be purchased for every student that enrolls.
The recommendation.
All right, so we taking these one at a time? Is that what you said?
Yes. Mrs. Beaudoin.
I move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education approve the purchase of the 2023 edition Biology Course Companion and Workbook IB edition textbooks for the 2024 to 2025 school year.
support.
Moved by Mrs. Beaudoin, supported by Mrs. Roney. Do we have any questions on this book? Ms. Beaudoin?
The book is used multiple years, correct? But we have to purchase new workbooks each year? Is that?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
that was my understanding. So will we be seeing this again next year to just purchase more workbooks? Or will we be approving the workbook purchase for subsequent years right now?
Right, so what you're approving is essentially approving the book, and you can see the evaluation instruments in there, but once you make this approval, until we switch to a different edition or we do a different type of workbook, it wouldn't come back to you for a recommendation.
Okay, so we'll just be purchasing that at the $40 per workbook
Yep.
for each kid going forward till we switch.
Yep, that's
Fantastic.
exactly right, yep.
Thank you, appreciate the clarification.
Any other questions? I have one. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? New biology workbooks, IB biology books it is.
All right. Next, we have the IB Physics textbook proposal, and we're recommending that we purchase the 2023 Standard Level Physics for IB Diploma Program textbook by Chris Hamper and Emma Mitchell. This will meet the new requirements for the IB program. The cost of the textbook is $75, and then we can, if we can get it on Amazon, it's also $89 on IB Source, so it'll be one of those two prices, and that book is there for your recommendation tonight.
Mr. Mena.
I move that the board approve the purchase of the 2023 standard level physics for IB diploma program textbook for the 2024-2025 school year.
Second.
Mr. Mitchner, moved by Mr. Mena, supported by Mr. Mitchner. Any questions on maybe physics? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We have IB physics books, so.
All right. Last but certainly not least, we have the AP Calculus textbook proposal. The AP Calculus textbook is currently 19 years old, was purchased back in 2005, and is no longer aligned with the existing standards. So this new book that we're going to be requesting to purchase is Calculus for the AP course, 4th edition by Sullivan and Miranda. The textbook costs $138.15, and it is there for your review tonight.
Do I have a motion? Mrs. Roney?
That the Novi Community School Board of Education approve the purchase of the Calculus for the AP course 4th edition textbook for the 2024-25 school year.
Support.
Moved by Mrs. Roney, supported by Mr. Smith. Any questions on AP Calculus?
I just don't know how we got away so long not getting new ones. I mean, that's,
They wore them out.
yeah.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We have calculus textbook.
Thank you very much.
So much for
That brings us to information and discussion. First one is the NHS dance trip.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Minka.
The first item here, this is a trip that we haven't taken before, which is why we're bringing it for info and discussion. Ms. Zardis is the Novi High School dance teacher. She's requesting that the Novi Dance Company travel to Hope College in Holland, Michigan on November 8th through November 9th this fall. Students will receive training in the art of dance and the use of abstract movement and ideas to communicate a theme or story to audience members. Students will gain an introduction to college dance programs and gain live concert experience as well. They'll be performing. The Novi group of 20 students and 3 chaperones will travel by charter bus and will be asked to pay $300 to participate. It's here for your consideration this evening, and we'll bring that back for approval to you. It might come back in May. It says here June 13th, but it will probably be back here in May.
Do we have any questions?
Comments?
Mr. Moon?
I was gonna say, not only do they get to learn, but they get to visit probably one of the nicest towns in the state
Yeah.
of Michigan. That is,
It's a pretty cool opportunity.
yeah.
Mr. Mitchner?
So is this our new approval format that we're looking at tonight for field trips going forward?
Yes, I'll let
Yeah,
Mike talk
so
about
we
it.
have a software in the district called Informed K-12 that allows for automation of workflows through different forms. So as forms need to go to each person, it automatically does it, almost like a DocuSign or something like that that you might have done. And we've got our field trip form in there, some of our internal purchasing forms in there, release forms, and then forms in all the departments. It's really helped us sort of like keep track of things and make sure that all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed.
Nice.
Yeah. It's something that we've started with this, and then we're hoping to kind of grow it into other areas as it just automates workflows and eliminates a lot of paper, so being a little bit more green and more efficient.
Excellent.
Any questions? I am not seeing on it where, the form where it says the number of instructional days the students would be missing.
Let me look. It is November 8th and 9th, so
I don't believe those are instructional days, but
It's at the top of the form,
Because
third
I
row.
saw them.
was it?
Friday and Saturday.
I saw them somewhere, yeah.
Okay, number of school days missed by students, just one, okay.
So you're testing them.
Mrs. Polonsky made the form, so
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
we
it
know
has
it's-
everything.
we know it's spot on.
I thought you were gonna say she probably forgot something, and I was like,
No.
No, it wasn't me, it was.
I was like, I don't
She
think.
caught everything.
If it was missed, it was outsourced.
That's right, exactly, that's right.
Okay, any other questions on the dance trip? None. Let's move on to 24 summer improvement programs.
All right, I'm gonna ask Mr. Donnelly to come up and talk a little bit about some of the site work improvements that we're doing this summer. This is a typical thing we do, updating our parking lots, drives, things like that. And so we like to kind of give the board an update ahead of heading into the summer. You know, obviously, these are, you know, they carry with them a price tag, they're bond funds, but we wanna make sure you know what that is, and then it'll come back for your approval, you know, next month, so. Mr.
Sure,
Donnelly.
appreciate Superintendent Micah. Like we do every summer, basically as you had teed it up, at different levels of scope, we work closely with Mike Dragoo and his team to identify site projects like asphalt, concrete, utility work that needs to happen. This is no different than any of the other years. It's not that intense, but there's some key projects that we're looking at tackling. I believe the 5 projects that we have identified for this summer are restoration of the loading docks at the Roar, at the high school. The concrete's crumbling, it needs repair. The 2 asphalt areas at the playgrounds at Orchard Hills and Deerfield are also deteriorated, becoming trip hazard safety issues for the children. So those are 2 other areas that are identified. And we're doing the parent drop-off and transportation loop over at Parkview. And those are the 5 projects. We had 3 bids. Fortunately, Nago Paving was our low bid. And we've utilized Nago Paving the last 2 years through a competitive bid environment, and they've been very successful at completing the work for the district. So we're happy with who was low and looking forward to completing the work. We'll be starting that work in June and be complete, I would say, sometime in August.
Mr. Mitchner.
So was Nego Paving the same company that did the paving out front of Meadows?
Yeah, if you recall 2 summers ago, there was a very robust paving effort that was done in probably 10 different sites. They were also the contractor that did that work.
Mrs. Baudouin.
Mr. Murray had a question first. And then go.
No, I will defer to you right now.
Thank you. I just wanted to double check, Mr. Menka, with some of the very loose plans that we have in place for future construction. Is any of this stuff things that are gonna be redone in a few years? Or is this all kind of avoiding your?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked
I
that.
haven't thoroughly got into your big dreams yet.
No, it's, I will tell you that most of this stuff are things that have to be done. You know, for example, the Roar Center loading dock needs to be done. Now, the entire Roar Center parking lot needs to be done, but that's actually scheduled out another year, so we're not doing all of that. So by way of example, we wanna always make sure, to your point, which is a very good point, we don't wanna build something and then have to tear it out and build over it. We have had times where that's been a necessity, but we try to avoid that whenever possible. The high school loading dock is another example of, you know, work that we're trying to do now that we've got the gateway done. You know, we're gonna do that one. So it was, you know, trying to make sure you're doing them in a sequential order. The only things that could potentially be impacted is playground improvements that we're looking to do at the elementary schools, as we talked about in DEI. A lot of the conversation has been around how to make the playgrounds more inclusive to students with disabilities. But I think that the work that we're talking about for both of those will be able to kind of work around it. At Orchard Hills in particular, they're in very big need of having the playground resurfaced and repaved. There's some, you know, you never want students to be able to grab chunks of asphalt at playgrounds. So, you know, those are never a good thing. So we have to do those. And so I think that, to your point, we will be fine, but future potential playground improvements, we may have to use some smaller equipment to move around those areas.
Okay, so we may end up having to work around this in future projects, but it needs to be done to a point that we can't really wait.
We can't wait on the Orchard Hills one, and the other ones are not going to be affected by, you know, future efforts, which is important. The only one that I'll say, you know, on the transportation side of the Parkview Parent Loop, you know, depending on what we're doing with the fleet and the transportation, you know, subcommittee, you know, we're gonna have to have some conversations about infrastructure for charging stations and things like that. So those are things that will be coming down the road. So, but I think it's kind of like multiple years down the road, so we're probably in good shape at this point.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Mitchner?
For the Parkview Parent Loop and Transportation Lot, is anything changing, or are we just resurfacing and maintaining what we have?
I believe it's just a resurface, is that correct? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
There's no substantial changes to anything, it's more updating where we have, you know, it's outlived, it's got cracks and, you know, pits and things like that. You know, we are looking at a traffic study, we're actually in progress with the city right now, we're sharing the cost of doing a traffic study at the high school. We know that that's obviously a big desire to be able to try and get more cars off of 10 Mile Road, particularly at the pickup and drop off time, it's a real busy time there, so, again, ahead of the activity center being built and everything else that we're gonna potentially be doing there, there's probably some asphalt work that could be done, but we're waiting for the traffic study to be done, see what those recommendations are before we'd have something to recommend to you. And we also don't wanna get ahead of potential other construction to, you know, trustee Bodwine's point about not wanting to put something down and then immediately have to tear it up, right? So, good question.
Okay.
Quick question. Well, first I
Mr.
wanted to
Mike,
thank,
or Mr. Mena.
first I wanted to thank you and really the entire team for the great job they've been doing, especially at the high school. And when I look back to remembering what the back of the high school looked like before, it's a complete transformation. And I welcome any community member who has an opportunity to come back there, look at the back end of our high school now. It's a lot more inviting than it used to be. I know there's still some additional items that need to be done. I'm just curious whether or not there's sort of a date that we're hoping to complete that. And then I'm also curious about, because I must have missed it somewhere, when we're planning on starting to work on the new baseball field.
Yeah, as far as the back of the high school goes, you're absolutely right. It's starting to look like a finished product, but there is some details left to do. I've asked the same question of our construction teams, and they've been working on a lot of the weather-driven items the last few weeks, and I'm being told that we have a few more weeks of work left to button everything up. Asphalt has yet to be done on the top surface. We have plantings and things of that nature and restoration work that needs to be done. Painting of handrails, things like that were driven by the weather, but I'm being told the next couple of weeks we'll have everything wrapped up. To your second question, we are looking contingent upon getting permit approvals, which it's looking like they're tracking well, on the baseball, softball, looking to mobilize the middle of May to start pushing dirt.
Great.
Any other questions for summer construction? Nina?
Yeah, we'll be back in front of the board here in June 13th, to give our spring presentation. So expect a pretty robust update to the board at that point, but appreciate it.
I will hold my breath.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Are you just gonna come hang out for the next meeting? You're gonna skip it?
Okay, 2024 device refresh.
So the next two items, if it's okay.
And smart board refreshment?
Can I talk
Yes.
about both? Okay. So both of these items are, well, the first item I'll say, the device refresh, we have a system on which we look at our devices. In our bond program, we have allocated a budget to be able to have a schedule, right, that we pay for these things. And I'm gonna ask Mr. Smith, Jason, to come up, and he's gonna talk a little bit about that, as well as something that Jason brought to us when shortly after he started was this concept of the smart boards at the elementary schools. And we really want to make sure that we're leading the way, cutting edge technology in all of our buildings, but those boards have gotten a little bit dated, and so we want to try to really make sure we're leading the way on those things. So both of these are really surrounding our technology for kids and staff, and so if you could speak to both of those, Jason, that would be helpful.
Yeah, so for the first one, the device refresh, this is basically in most devices that everybody has is on a 5-year refresh cycle. So you get the device, you hold on to it 5 years, 5 years comes up, it's time to refresh it for the new latest and greatest. It keeps up with pace with updates, operating systems, that kind of stuff that's taking place, and all the new, so Windows 11, when that comes out, requires more RAM, more power to operate on the computer. So These devices that what we identified are up for refresh for 5 years. Unfortunately, some have been in market for probably about since 2016. So it's time to get these ones out and get some new devices into the hands of students and staff members. This year, we're targeting non-instructional staff. Next year, I believe, would be the instructional staff. So these devices won't be connecting to smart boards or interactive devices such as those. So there's really no need for touch screens or anything really too crazy on these devices. The other devices that we have here are basically going to be for students in classrooms and Chromebooks that they take home for enrollment. And lastly, we have iPads for the little kids that they'll be getting to take home and use in classrooms as well.
And then can you speak a little bit about the smart boards?
Yeah, the smart boards is actually the really cool one. So getting to know the district, I went traveling around to the elementaries and noticed that the smart boards that the teachers are using are ready to be refreshed. I believe the information we discovered is these smart boards were purchased with a 2015 bond and purchased in 2016, 2017. These smart boards do not allow any cool features that the new smart boards have as far as wirelessly casting, multi-point touch. They allow you to touch, but you can't have multiple kids come up and touch at the same time. These devices also are integrated with Google. Our teachers use Google for everything, to storage, Chrome, browsing, and with this, Google Slides. So these boards integrate with Google, so what a teacher would see on their laptop is what exactly they're gonna see on their board as well. So if teacher was to forget their laptop, it's really no big deal. They can come in, log right into the smart board, and they'll have everything sitting there waiting for them. This one I'm very proud of because I'm excited to see these boards in the hands, and I've heard so many teachers have caught wind of it, that they're really gonna come, because I was fishing at first to see if we could even make this happen, and they seem to be excited. So I'm happy to see the smiles on their face.
Yeah.
Mr. Mena?
Yes, I gotta ask, because I know this question's come up a lot before you start working in the district, but do you have any idea what the utilization rate is on these? Based on what you're telling me now, teachers are really excited about these, but you have different folks, right? You got different teachers, some that really gravitate to technology, some maybe that don't. So I'm just curious to find out are we purchasing boards for everybody, or are we purchasing boards for everybody who wants to use one? Or are we really purchasing them for the rooms and hoping that the teacher using that particular room will be using the technology?
Jason, I can jump in. So we spend a lot of time in classrooms in the teaching and learning department. I have never seen a smart board go unused.
Oh, good.
It's sort of the central teaching wall, right? The central focal point for kids when we want to redirect their attention to something important that they need to look at. Most of our elementary teachers design their day around a slide deck to keep everything organized and keep everything flowing. We know that that's important for student engagement, so it's all there. One of the things that we found actually with our literacy pilots that we're engaged in is that a number of the smart boards, this is what drew my attention to it, weren't functioning properly for the teachers to be able to actually implement those new curricula. So it wasn't responsive, they weren't working, the connections weren't staying steady. And so teachers were losing that sort of, when you engage in effective phonics instruction, there's a pace to it, right? Phonics is not by itself exciting for anybody, I don't think. But you have to have a pace to it and a structure to it when you engage in whole class phonics instruction, and our teachers weren't able to do that, in particular at some of our buildings, and so we want to make sure that they have what they need in order to be successful.
Great. Okay.
Mr. Mitchner?
2 questions on the device refresh part. Well, one a comment, one a question. I think that's great that the Raptor visitor desks are going to get touchscreens. Because as a parent, I can't tell you how many times that I've showed up and I'm like, I'm going to the cafeteria. Oh yeah, I gotta use the mouse. So I think a lot of parents are gonna appreciate that one, so good work on that. For the Chromebooks for student use, I'm curious, it seems like most kids just keep them over the summer. So they keep them for a 5-year cycle and then return them in and get a new one? Or are the individual devices somehow tracked by the district so a child may have it for 3 years and then over the summer they turn it in and get another one because its 5-year time has expired. How does that work?
So Chromebooks do work a little differently than your laptops as far as Windows or Macs. Google just recently released that a Chromebook now can last 10 years. I personally would not recommend anyone holding on a Chromebook for 10 years, but it's good to know that Google says that's possible. So with the Chromebooks, we are developing a plan to maybe work off a 7-year cycle. So they get them when they come in to elementary, whatever grade they come into, and then in grade 7, right around there, we start to do a swap at that level. So they do a swap one time, and now they're good until the rest of the year. That plan is still being developed because we're in a good place for that because the devices that were recently handed out have many years left on them, but that's what our intentions are.
Okay. How do you know, so are these additional, these, the 1,200?
Yes.
Or are they replacement?
Replacement, new enrollees coming in, new students coming in, they'll be a piece of these. Spares, we go through them quite a bit, for the ones breakage, just things of that nature.
Okay.
Mrs. Bowdoin.
So I have a few questions on this. Specifically Chromebooks for the students, I understand you're saying 7 years now might be possible. What I'm hearing from like a lot of kids in the district, especially in those middle grades, like the Meadows and middle school, is that they are predominantly, being destroyed. And I'm wondering if we have plans to like pull them back in to refresh them in like maybe between 5, 6, 7, 8 kind of grades. And I was kind of thinking about, it seems like the ones in the lower grades, like K4, are handled maybe a little bit more carefully than once you get into the other buildings where kids are going classroom to classroom with their device in their hands. In our middle school, we don't allow the kids to carry around their backpacks, so this device is in a hand with a bunch of books and a bunch of other things. And I worry because it seems like there's a lot of them that are not in great shape from what I hear from my students. So I just wanted to kind of bring that to your attention. And I mean, some of them may last that long, but it seems like there may be quite a few that don't make that. And so I wanted to ask if we could consider even purchasing more for replacements to have more available, or if you feel this number is gonna be sufficient. Because to me, the Chromebooks are so important with so much of what the kids do, and
Correct, yeah.
seems like tricky in some of those middle grades.
I think this number is a pretty solid number for us to start at. We can always come back, and if we need more Chromebooks, we have a small stockpile now that it's in our tech offices that we can use as well. This number should be able to suffice for all the new enrollees and the breakage, like you said, they have. A lot of the Chromebooks too, when students have problems with them, break off keys or something like that, our department will replace that as well too. So they'll be getting the same Chromebook back, and we take those Chromebooks that come back and use them as spare parts. So we're able to not just toss them all aside and waste everything that's on there. We can use some of them for when a student drops it, breaks the screen. That's our biggest thing is screen breakage on those.
Okay, I've seen a couple of them that like the hinges
Hinges.
get real bad. And then I guess the other thing I wanted to ask about when you're talking about bringing them in and pushing them back out to the students, and let me know if this is something that is not okay for me to be discussing here, but I was wondering if we could look at trying to develop a little bit different system to refurbish them more thoroughly before they go back out to kids. And maybe the experience we had in my house was not what is typical, but my son got one when he had to have a replacement with warranty, and it was like, had a bunch of stuff damaged on it. And I was telling Mr. Meinke that, especially in like those grades, the middle grades, I feel like you have a lot better luck that a kid's gonna take care of something if it looks nice when they get it. And so I don't know what the process normally looks like for that, and if we can look at trying to make sure that what we're putting out to kids, is fresh seeming at least, if
Yes.
it's.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
like-
Anything that comes out of our tech office, it should look brand new. So that kind of like worries me a little bit.
I was
I need
surprised
to check into that, yeah.
The first one, like during a repair, was like a loaner for a day, and that one was not. I mean, and it was resolved very quickly, but I just wonder, and my son has told me that he has one of the better looking Chromebooks amongst all the people, like, at his lunch table and stuff, which alarmed me, because, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that especially those middle grades seem to struggle with keeping them from falling and.
Yeah, I can definitely follow up on that with our team and make sure anything going out of our offices is like brand new. They shouldn't be able to see a difference between that one and a brand new one. I mean, maybe a little more shinier, but.
Oh, I mean, and of course, there's like, wear on the keys, or,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff you can't help, but I just want to make sure that we're doing what we can. I don't know how to do any of it, so I guess what you can, but thank you.
Anytime, yes.
Any other questions? Curious, I didn't notice it, but on the iPads, are we are we buying the cases, protective cases along with them?
We do have cases and spares in our office that will, that were extras that were bought from previously that will be able to take care of this.
The issue of insurance, are we looking at maybe doing a one package that while you have the Chromebook, you only have to enroll once, or are we gonna have to continue to enroll every single year on insurance for?
So we're been
The
discussing
optional
the insurance, and we're trying to look at situations to kind of, exactly what you said, do it one time and be done with it, but currently, right now, you have to renew it every year.
Okay. The other thing I'm curious about is screen time. And because we're giving everybody a Chromebook, we have one-to-one. Are we even considering stepping back from one-to-one devices in trying to cut back on some of the screen time that the kids have in their classes?
So I can answer that. So we haven't had any formal discussions, but definitely something I'm gonna talk about in my report is screen time. What I will say is that there are districts that move to more of a system where the Chromebooks stay at the district, right? So you might have something, but it stays here, it doesn't go home, and that limits some of the breakage and things like that. The downside of that is it defeats the purpose of, them being able to utilize it for school, while they're at home. They've become, with the way that they're being integrated, especially with the smart boards that we're getting and all of these other things, they've become tools that are able to be utilized and harnessed. And so the questions that we talk about a lot are how do we still maintain the collaborative discussions and things like that. And I think when I go into classrooms, I still see that. But the students do have, the opportunity to do a lot of their work at the high school, for example. The kids have their work in Schoology. They can go right in there. They can pull it up in the class. The teacher can put their Slidos or their slide decks in there and they can pull it up. So it's certainly a conversation that we do have, related to how technology is being used, but we have not had formal conversations about moving away from our current practice of having one-to-one. But that is certainly something that I'd be happy to take back to the team, and we could talk about, what are the different models and pros and cons of all of those things.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Commissioner?
I would just add to that the Parent Bloxy app is 75% effective. It's not perfect. That would be an interesting future discussion, but it's way better than nothing. So for parents that are concerned with screen time, especially at home, highly recommend downloading that and getting that up and running in your own home.
Love it.
Mr. Commissioner, would you say a little more about that?
Yeah, you can fill out a form on PowerSchool and submit that way, and it'll walk you through how to apply. Basically, you just have to register a parent email address and the child's email address, and then it gets acknowledged by Oakland Schools, and then you're ready to go. You can do it on your laptop, or if you have a smartphone, you can go to your app store, download it, and start the process there. Both work equally fine. Once you have the app, you have like a master switch that you can just turn off internet access to that device. Once they're outside of school hours, it won't affect their school time, obviously, but once they're outside school hours, the device won't be able to access any internet anywhere. Not yours, not your neighbor's, not somebody's phone that happens to be in the house. So that's pretty effective. And then you can also set up a list of sites that are also blocked while the app is active. And you can also set bedtime, so the device stops using internet, at between the hours of 8 p.m. and 5 in the morning or something like that.
And that's for the Chromebooks.
Yep, for the Chromebooks.
Cool, thank you.
We used to do that with cell phones.
Smart.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Brings us to our Oakland Schools budget resolution. Mr. Michael.
All right, the revised school code requires that an annual budget be presented to local school boards. The Oakland Schools, our intermediate school district, is required to present this budget to the local districts, and so the 28 districts need to have an opportunity to review it and be presented with the budget prior to May 1st each year. So we're presenting it to you. It will come for a resolution at a future meeting here in May. But it's there for your review. I will say that Mr. Kling is the person that has looked at this the most, so I'll let him say a few words.
Yes, thank you. At our April Oakland County School Business Officials meetings, Terry Less and her team presented this budget in front of us. Now, there's a lot of different budgets here. They have a general fund, special ed fund, career education fund. They also have other funds. Really, the only one that we're required to kind of approve or disapprove is the general fund. How their budget affects us varies. I will say the biggest thing that kind of jumped out to me was, again, which I've already kind of talked to you guys about, is the Oakland County Business Residency Program. We're a member of that group. We're actually gonna have a business residency housed here in February of '25, so we're gonna kind of be one of the districts. I think it's Troy, Bloomfield, Clarkston, Lake Orion, Royal Oak. There's a number of schools that are kind of participating in this. I know the Human Resource Residency Program is also starting up. Really, these programs are an effort to support school districts in Oakland County to try and get people a feeder program, if you will, for these positions. That's one of the biggest amendments to their budget, or one of the things that jumps out that affects us. So that's gonna directly affect us. Another thing is the PA-18, that's the special education millage throughout Oakland County that helps offset special education costs. That's increasing by, I think they said 8.9%, so that's gonna be an additional $600,000 to us to help offset special education costs. That's the highlights I have for you.
Thank you,
So-
Mr. Kling.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Minna.
So is that a recommendation to support?
It's, you know, I would recommend you support it, but, again, I don't, it's an acknowledgement of whether or not this district, of the 28 districts in the county of Oakland, support it or not. I don't think it matters if, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think if we approve it or disapprove it, it will or will not go at the county level or ISD level, but yes, I support it.
Any other questions?
I think we all got a copy of it. So it's all right here if you guys want to read it.
All 115 pages.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm still scrolling, it looks to be
Yeah.
pretty lengthy, so thank you for the summary. Yeah. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
The PA-18 is substantial. That is a real positive thing, and it's based on the fact that property values in Oakland County did better than projected and anticipated. So what that means essentially for us is that we'll be able to help offset some of the funds that, you know, we don't fully fund special education in this state or country. And so it's nice when our county can come alongside and help us with a little bit more of those funds. So that'll be a good thing.
Okay. Let's move on to our committee reports. We had 3 committees meet since the last time: governance and policy, master planning, and transportation. Governance and policy is run by
Danielle.
Ms. Ruskin was doing that. I can pinch hit if that's okay, or
Sure.
do you want?
Unless one of the
Oh,
other.
that's fine, Ben.
Okay.
No, let's go ahead.
Okay. So we had a.
I'm sorry, if it helps, I sign that.
Oh, yeah. We talked about kind of our strategic planning timeline. The goal, of course, was to have everything, kind of in front of the board at this point to start reviewing. Based on things that have just happened in the district, we're gonna have that still on our plan to have that to you by, May, going into June for an approval. We did talk about, at the request of some of the board members, to talk about the practice of withdrawing motions in a meeting, and they're working on that. We have some additional work that's being done. Trustee Roney is going to the parliamentary workshop. I know that Mr. Mishner has spent a lot of time on that as well. We're gonna ask some specific questions, get some additional information, but they hope to have a recommendation to come back for discussion at a future meeting. We did talk a little bit about the update for annual updating of policies. There is a new package of legislation. Typically, the policies come back for a review in July. And so the rhythm is that in July, we'll get a new packet, and then we review those, and then throughout the year, we take action on those, right? In November of '23, there was a package of bills that will start to take effect this fall. So the policy committee has those. We're gonna be getting those to the whole board, and then that will be a discussion for kind of a one-off because of the way that those bills land. They reviewed those updates, and then we'll have that. And at that point, the meeting was adjourned at 4 p.m.
Thank you. The next one on the
Mr.
list.
President?
Oh, go ahead.
A question for the committee is, is there a consideration that you may come back to the board with recommendation that we will be adopting Robert's rules as our official parliamentarian authority? It sounds like we're potentially looking at adopting pieces of it, so maybe one thing, if you hadn't thought about it before, instead of adopting it piecemeal, to just adopt the entire parliamentary authority, and it would cover withdrawings of motions of the board and any such other motions you might need to make in the future. Might be more prudent, just something to consider.
Jason, we haven't made any decisions yet, so that's why we said we'd bring it back to the board. We're getting a little bit more information, and we just feel it's probably better to have some questions answered that we had before we come back and say, yeah, we want to do this, we don't want to do that.
All right, great.
The next committee was the Master Planning Ad Hoc Committee. It's the first time the committee met, so we kind of sat down and discussed what the purpose of the committee was, and that's looking out more than just bond or building. It's more programming growth and what we potentially would like to see the district become. We talked about what that growth might look like and where we see some issues currently even, and then future programming possibilities that we kind of brainstormed a little bit about. The other thing we covered would be next steps of the committee, and hopefully we can come up with a recommendation for the board for where the board would like to see the district go in 5-10 years, even maybe even further out. So there were quite a few questions, quite a few things that we discussed in detail, and I think it was a good first meeting. The other ad hoc committee that met was transportation. There again, we kind of discussed the purpose of the committee, then we went over a report on kind of the cost between electric buses and diesel buses, and we did ask to go back and get more information on gas buses or other types of buses that would be available to us, and those hopefully we'll get some more information on that. But and it also, the report included a kind of replacement plan on cycling through the number of buses we get. Mrs. Valentine was there, and she did state that we usually don't have an issue with the buses breaking down. We have an issue with the rust belt, and usually the bodies of the buses go before anything else. So that was kind of interesting, even though we have a bus wash. Apparently we can't drive through it after every route, but cause other costs, but, yeah, we did ask for additional information before we come back to the board with a recommendation on what type of buses we buy, what type of cycle we put them on, and, go through there, so. Did I miss anything on that? I think pretty much covered it.
Pretty much.
This brings us to our superintendent report, Mr. Meinka.
All right, well, I know I've seen a few of you in the last week, so who does not have a copy of it? Okay. All right, so I had the opportunity over break to do some reading. I think I gave you one, didn't I? No? Okay.
It's okay. I'll grab it after.
That's you.
I already got mine.
Yeah. Did you get yours?
Oh, yeah, I got mine.
I got mine.
I already read it.
Okay, you already read it.
I'm just joking.
Good job. So I think this is an important book for us to have an opportunity to read as for you as a governing body, as a board, to kind of consider some of the recent information that this book really capitalizes on. Jonathan Haidt's a social psychologist. He's done quite a bit of research, and he draws upon the work of other people. But the book is called The Anxious Generation, and it talks about, the subtext is how the great rewiring of childhood is causing an epidemic of mental illness. And I will say that the book is very informative. It's also alarming. And a lot of the things that are in here, speak to the data that's now being collected through empirical research about what different things are happening with our kids at different ages and developmentally, what they're going through and what they've been through the pandemic and everything else. And provides some really concrete examples for parents and schools and communities on how they can really address some of these things. So I'm excited for you to hopefully get a chance to start to look at some of these things, because I believe that they will serve as a launch pad for some future discussions, particularly as we get into things like screen time, how many hours a day our kids spend on screens, the appropriate times that they start to be introduced to social media, what that does to their brains, all of these types of things. And so I think you'll find it very interesting. There's a lot of eye-opening statistics and charts and graphs that are in there as well. So more to come on this, and I hope to have a future discussion about it. I will also let you know that I had the pleasure today of being in Traverse City with our HOSA students. We have about 485 students that are involved in the HOSA program, many of whom are in Traverse City on multiple buses, and they're competing. And so I had the opportunity to judge today. I did health education, and just seeing the quality of the participants, it's such a great program. They learn how to speak and present and all of those skills, but they also have a technical component where they have to present in a particular discipline or area. It was really, really eye-opening just to see the quality of work that the kids are doing. And they're kids from all over the state of Michigan, but Novi has far and away the largest contingent of students. And so it was a really proud moment to see all of our kids. I'm gonna drive back up there early in the morning. I've got another competition to judge in, I think, 9:30. So I'll be back up in Traverse City in the morning doing that. But the award ceremony is tomorrow evening, and then after that we'll head back. But I'll head back. But the kids are coming back on Saturday afternoon. Lots of exciting things going on there. So I really appreciate, Kathleen Ader and Megan Chapin-Doobie for all of their work, kind of being the coaches for that program, and all of the volunteers and chaperones that are there as well. Had a really fun time this past week recording a podcast that's going to come out on Tuesday. Happened to interview several of our students and one of our staff members that helps put on our theater productions. Thomas Smith Jr. was one of our guests on the show, and just hearing the kids talk about what it takes to pull off a musical of this type of nature is amazing. You go to the theater and you see the actors and you kind of talk about what parts you liked, but there's so much that's going on behind the scenes and all their preparation. And so Tuesday that comes out. I hope you'll see that. But next weekend is our show, Singing in the Rain, and I hope that everybody will get a chance to be able to take that in. It's going to be incredible. really excited today, got the word that, we had the saga with the Village Oaks Playground. And we really got on top, if you recall. We asked the board to please approve in a quick hurry the Meadows Playground equipment. It was supposed to be delivered at the beginning of June, and we just got word that a semi showed up today with all of the playground equipment for Meadows. So thankfully, we will not have that issue, and we'll be able to make sure everything's in place in time for school to start, which is wonderful. I start my spring listening tours, so we did that in the fall. We make adjustments. I travel around to the buildings. It's a very eye-opening experience, and for whatever reason, it's been something that people have really enjoyed. So we're going to continue to do that. I will start those over the next month or so, doing our spring tours as well. I was asked at a previous board meeting to start to collect some data around school start times, particularly the district's decision to move Meadows early and have the different times when they were. That again, I want to just preface, I know nobody's taking action or making any changes. It's just really to collect data on the effect of what we've done. We started to prepare some of that, and I'll have some further information at a future presentation at a board meeting. So things are moving fast and furious for the start of spring, and it's going to be a very busy time. I'll be sending in my updates regularly now, different events that will be available at all the different buildings. We do have graduation coming up, which this year is a little different, being on I think it's on a Wednesday, is that right, or is it a Thursday? Thursday? Wednesday, yes, Wednesday. So graduation at EMU obviously is a big deal, and we have multiple honors events and things like that are coming up. So when we talk in May, it's going to be very, very much upon us. So I appreciate all of your energy and efforts over the next few months as we finish strong and really usher a great end of the school year in. So thank you for all your support as always.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Micah. This brings us to administrative reports. Dr. Carino.
Thank you. We are very excited that we recently placed Biscuit, our second official district-owned therapy dog, at the high school. And so we are also very excited that this week we just selected Village Oaks to be the third recipient of our district-owned therapy dog. So the Village Oaks students and staff were very excited to be surprised on Friday. They have decided on a name, Bear, for their dog. So we will be introducing Bear to the Village Oaks community over the next few weeks throughout the spring, and we anticipate that he will make his permanent debut in the fall.
And Bear is not a Chihuahua, right?
Bear is not a Chihuahua, it's an Australian
Sure.
Labradoodle. Adorable, adorable puppy. We look ahead to the fall, so we are looking at staffing numbers. We just met with our elementary principals. We will be meeting with our secondary and special education district and building leaders in the next 2 weeks to finalize staffing needs for the 24-25 school year. So it's hard to think that we are wrapping up this year, but very quickly ramping up for next school year as well.
Thank you. Mr. Giramini.
Throwing us off.
Alphabetical order.
Have to be on our toes.
I would like to start by apologizing. I did misspeak when Mr. Mitchner asked the question about Novi Meadows Robotics. It is physically located in Meadows 5, but it is part of the 6th grade curriculum. Our 5th grade experience is the STEMI from Oakland schools, where students have that opportunity to engage in robotics learning through that pretty cool setup. We are currently in the throes of state testing, MSTEP, PSAT, ACT work keys, SAT. I don't think I forgot anything. This year, new for us is the PSAT and SAT being digital, so students have to take those on devices now. So it'll be big shift in planning, big shift in execution, and how we actually handle those tests. I'm looking forward to see how we perform in the new assessments, because we've really only had one experience with it on the PSAT and MSQT in the fall. And our advanced placement and international baccalaureate diploma program exams begin at the end of April, beginning of May. So good luck to those students. I know they have worked very, very hard to prepare for those exams. And next month we will have a presentation and a recommendation for you regarding the K-4 literacy curriculum resources. Our initial trial pilots end this week. I am very proud of the process that our team is engaged in. We've got many voices involved, including our teachers, families, students, principals.
in our effort to make the best possible decision for our kids and for our teachers. I just have to say that I continue to be so impressed by our coaching team. They have been instrumental in this process, orchestrating so many different things happening all at once to make sure that we get the input that we need, that we try quality resources with our kids and with our staff. So I'm very excited to share that with you next month.
Thank you. Say best for last, Mr. Kling.
I like it.
That was a
You just say
line
that-
right there.
You could say that a little louder.
Don't worry, it's recorded.
So it's obviously a busy season for us. Superintendent Mike and I went on or jumped on a Moody's rating call for our third series of our 2019 bond. So that's going to be a call that they do to get information, gather information for the investors, to make sure that basically our rating, which is AA2, one of the highest in the state, stays there or goes higher or below. I think it went really well. It was a nice opportunity to kind of promote our district, kind of show what we're working on and where we sit in Michigan, and it was a great call. So that was fun. Custodial survey, I think last board report I mentioned that we were doing a custodial survey, so that is concluded. We're currently going through the data. We had over 200 staff members participate, so I want to say thank you to all the staff that participated. We're going to go through it and kind of review, try to pull as much useful data as we can to make sure that we provide the facilities and the staff with the best custodial service possible. Food service contract for renewal. Yesterday we received the approval letter from MDE to renew the contract, our contract with Chartwells for the 24-25 year. Because we got it yesterday, I didn't put it in today's packet, but this will be coming to you for information and discussion in May. Just high level, the administrative and management fees are set to increase by the current CPI numbers, which is about 4.2%. So it's going to track with that. Had a chance to walk Meadows today. It's somehow that building continues to surprise me, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be great. The gym's very big. The cafeteria is very big. Kim, I don't know, Kim, if you're watching, the kitchen is going to be very nice, and it was just impressive. It's in the stage of construction where things are going to start moving quickly, and so I had an opportunity to walk that with Justin Bott. He confirms, yeah, they're on schedule, and it'll be ready to go this summer. And last but not least, it's budget season, so it's crazy. Just had the opportunity to review the Senate's proposal. Still waiting on the House, so it's going to be. Well, I'll keep you updated, but we're still in the wait and see stage on what's going to happen. So that's it.
Thank you. Board communications. Any board members have something they would like to say, do?
So I was just, a comment on the donation section. I notice month after month, Village Oaks continues to submit us donations, which is great to approve and acknowledge. I'm just curious, for the other PTOs in our district, does that mean that they're not funding any programs that cross our threshold? Or I'm just curious of the consistent absentees, the silence of the other PTOs in the district? Do you have any insight into that?
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I was just certainly would say that, but I think it's more a matter of with it, with the person who is in charge of whether it's the treasurer of their PTO and how they're processing that. We have communicated to all of them what the policy is. There's also some, I will call it ambiguity with our current policy relative to, for example, if somebody's purchasing T-shirts for, the staff. Is that something that is really something that needs to come? Right now, the policy is, we're kind of operating under the idea that if it's over $1,000, it does. So I think that Village Oaks has been doing a phenomenal job of following that to a T. We don't necessarily track their expenditures in the same way, so it is somewhat incumbent upon them to bring that to us. Athletic Boosters has done a very good job as well, you know, that's kind of part of they've reoriented their process to that. It has been a conversation that we've had at the policy level, to really look at a policy that could be, you know, somehow making a little bit of an adjustment to say, really, you know, things that are gonna rely on things that are in the purview of the board, right, which would relate to curricular items and things like that. But if they're not related to those things, that maybe, you know, the board would be comfortable in allowing that. I'm not making a recommendation at this point, I'm just saying that I think that's part of the conversation, so that in the fall, we can go back to those groups and say, okay, here's the revised practice and how we wanna do this. So that would be kind of the goal, and I talked with a couple of board members about that actually over the past couple weeks, so, you know, I don't have a hard answer other than to just explain it in that way.
Okay, that makes sense. It's just something that's been curious.
Yep.
Any other board communication? Mr. Smith?
It's not that serious, but I noticed last year, since you were bringing up Kim and Chartwell's, I don't know what happened at the commencement last year, but I think the spread that we enjoyed tonight would be satisfactory for all of us if we could repeat that. We had some celery sticks last year.
So you want?
You ate them all before I got there.
This stuff.
Well, you guys went out for Mexican beforehand and didn't tell me.
Well, you'll be invited this
So
year.
if you want, we can save some money and you guys can bring me three chorizo tacos.
Do you want an order of, street corn too?
That would be delicious. So what would you guys decide?
Some food would be nice, yeah. Some
Or,
of us get hungry.
or let us know there's no food and I'll order tacos from you guys or go, but
We'll
in the
work on
past years, there's been something and then I showed up and there was celery sticks. It was a long few
Well,
hours.
there was actually a lot
Whoever
of,
gave the speech that night was,
Long-winded, yeah.
but no tears.
there was a lot of
Just the
food,
comedy
you
of the
just
same
came
over.
late and we had eaten it all.
Well, you ate all the food.
Yeah.
Anyways, snacks,
work on it.
got it.
Compliment
That is
to Kim.
hilarious. Yeah.
Any other board communication?
I did
Mrs.
go
Roy?
last night to the parliamentary procedures. I do have some papers for you. I have not got an answer from Deb yet on the withdrawal thing. So I you know, it was like 2+ hours and she went through it very quickly because I guess this is normally a 3-hour class and she did it in 2. And so I gave her my email and she's supposed to email me something, so I will forward it on.
Okay.
But I mean, in her little thing, I mean, it's quite clear that you can just withdraw it. But I
But
want
I
it
don't think
officially.
there's an appetite for us to embrace Robert's Rules of Orders.
There's not many schools that, a lot of them have their own, she asked last night, and a lot of them have their own procedures because it's, their own board.
Mrs. Beaudoin?
Not totally sure if this falls under board communication, but
Yes,
I'm
it
gonna
does.
go ahead and communicate from the board. I just wanted to point out and acknowledge that Mr. Meinke drove to Traverse City for our students in HOSA, and then back here to be with all of us this evening, and is returning to Traverse City. So for anyone who missed that part of his report, thank you for your dedication.
Thank you.
And all of the hours of driving. I know you said you got a lot done on your drive
I
today on
did.
the phone, so
A lot of
that's
phone
great,
calls.
but that seems like a lot of driving, and I just wanted to
You
thank you
should see the
for.
mileage report.
That's
Right, we don't pay you mileage,
You
do
don't,
we?
no.
Okay, I was thinking about that today, I was like, are we gonna get charged for this? Cause that's a lot of driving. But, yeah, thank you, and I'm sure the HOSA kids were thrilled to have you there, and, we're happy to have you here as well,
It's
so
fun,
thank you.
But we do pay the phone bill.
But that's unlimited, right?
It's
It's gotta be
unlimited.
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 They do have planes that go there, you know.
That's true. I didn't look into
We
that.
probably have a student with a pilot's license. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mena?
Yeah, you know, sometimes as a board, we make decisions, and sometimes they're good decisions, and sometimes we look back and they're not so great decisions, but I do want to thank Trustee Smith for his great idea that he brought before us quite some time ago about starting our board meetings at 6 o'clock. It has worked out, really has worked out fantastic to be able to leave here when it's still light outside.
Look at how excited these guys are
It's,
too.
it is pretty awesome, so, that was just one of the good ones, so thank you.
Thank you, Willie.
I'll fill a little more time. Then, Miss Holly has sent out a doodle on signing diplomas.
Oh,
So you guys could respond to her on that, that would be great.
I thought we already did that. Oh, it's a different doodle? Oh, okay.
When did you send it?
I think I sent it 2 days ago.
Oh, I'll have to check
It's-
in.
Is that a different process than
They-
we've done before?
Yeah,
So she's asking that we come in here and sign the diplomas rather than.
no, is it here or high school?
High school, she'd like to have a diploma signing party.
Well,
Well, Tom's gonna
kids
wanna
think
know
they're-
what
Well,
there is
Tom's
to
gonna
eat.
want those snacks.
Tom's gonna wanna know the snacks, so.
Gatsby's.
There we go.
So yeah, if everybody could,
So we all have to do it at the same time?
No,
you don't have
No.
to, she would just like to try to get as many of us together at one time as
Oh,
possible.
I get it.
So
Okay.
we can, you
And I
know,
gave a
celebrate
wide
the.
range of times because I know everybody
Okay.
has jobs and.
I missed that portion of it.
The nice thing about doing it together, we did, a few of us here together last year, is that if you end up with if you forgot to request to sign somebody's and.
That was me.
Somebody else there has it, you can exchange at that point, so.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I missed, did you come out with the list where we say who we want?
Yes.
Yeah. So I will say with a senior this year, and plus somehow I beat Danielle to it, but I did get my initials on quite a few, so if any of you see a name that you want, like
Hey,
some people.
You're only allowed 1/7
Yeah,
of
do you know what?
them.
I'll fight you
I
for
didn't
no.
do 1/7.
And I said, you're only allowed.
Do you want me to send it again? 'Cause I can see it.
No, I'm sure I can find it. If not, I'll message you.
Which brings up another point. Could you guys please check your emails from time to time?
I do. I check them all the time. I can't believe I missed it.
Okay, I am done.
Motion to adjourn?
Support.
Moved by Mr. Smith, supported by Mr. Mitchner. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? We are adjourned.
Potatoes.